We have an awesome event where you will learn about one of those great technology companies that started in Milwaukee, PKWARE. They are forming called Viivo within their company. And I'm going to hand over the mic to another Matt Little from PKWARE, who's going to introduce you to the team.
Okay, everybody in? All right, so who's heard of PKWARE? Anybody? Anybody under the age of 40 heard of PKWARE? Keep your hands up. So my name's Matt Little. I work for PKWARE. I've been there about 9 years. I come up through the IT group. I'm here to introduce the panel. A bunch of guys that have helped us kind of keep PKWARE innovative. One of the problems with a 27-year-old software company is it's tough to be innovative. It's tough to act like a startup. We've got a lot of enterprise customers. People have been with us for a long time, and it's they're really attractive. We want to keep developing software for them, and that means we don't pay attention to anybody else. So part of PKWARE's mission is to kind of put together a group of people that can have a startup mentality within the company, help to develop new software to kind of take us to the next level, and that's this group here today. Guy on my right is Joe Sturonas. He's our Chief Technology Officer. Joe's done a couple of startups in his life. One that's crash and burn, one that was pretty successful. He ended up selling it to Experian Technologies. Joe's the guy that worked in IndyCar for, I'm gonna forget the name of the company, Premonition Software. So wrote all the software to grab telemetry off race cars going around a track 150 miles an hour a bunch of years ago. So Joe's a big racing guy. He's come here, a lot of enterprise experience, big mainframe guy, biggest geek I know. Every website, every technology, every application, every podcast, this is Joe, 24/7. Commutes up to Milwaukee from Illinois, and we love him.
I don't drive like a fib.
Tim Kohler's the guy down here on the left. Tim's our CFO. He's unlike any CFO I've ever met. He is absolutely a startup guy. He's the Marquette Golden Angel Network. He mentors companies, funds companies. People are always pitching him, getting his ideas. He's also the reason why everybody only got 2 drink tickets tonight instead of 3. He's a coach of the Marquette Sailing Club, and he enjoys long walks on the beach. John Eyring here on my left is from Salt Lake. He's our project lead. He's worked with our CEO for a number of years, a bunch of startups out in Boston, Lava Storm. He came here to kind of help us out, figure out what it would take to be innovative. Awesome guy. John actually comes to Milwaukee and tries to find pants with a 26-inch waist. 28. He eats more dessert than any guy I know. I think it's a tapeworm. Maybe it's because he swims 5 miles a day. But John's a great guy. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Joe. Joe's going to give us a quick history of the company. We're going to go from there and talk about what we've been doing the last 12 months to try to stay innovative, what products we've been developing, where we've gone, what we did wrong, what we did right. We want it to be really collaborative, just shout out questions. I got a bunch of gift certificates for like Amazon and Best Buy. Best question, you get a gift certificate, we'll just kind of like throw them out there and you guys can buy for them. But, and then at the end we'll do Q&A or whatever Cordio lets us do.
As Matt said, we basically, Phil Katz, that's the PK and PKWARE, created vZIP back in 1989. So PKWARE as a company was 1986, created vZIP as a standard in 1989. vZIP itself, and so we have the app node, and we define the app node, we're the custodian and the maintainer of the app node. The vZIP app node is actually referenced in several standards bodies, ISO, ECMA, OASIS, all recognize ZIP. I mean, ZIP is in so many other places other than just the files that you see every once in a while. So every Office document, as an example, is a zip file. Every Open Office document is a zip file. So PKWARE has kind of been in 3 different stages or phases. The first phase was startup, and Phil started PKWARE on his kitchen table in Brown Deer, and that was really, his PKZip and what you hear and DOS and the DOS days. That was all Phil. He elected to go the shareware model. Got PKZip out to as many places as it could. Had people say, "Send me $25 if you feel good about the product," and a lot of people did. The second phase of PKWARE is really around enterprise software. So in Milwaukee, we really focused on getting PKZip compression on as many different platforms as possible. So mainframe, IBM I or AS400, Unix, Linux, Windows Server, all the way down to Android and iOS. The other big part of enterprise software is security. So we implemented strong security into ZIP, which includes encryption, decryption, with strong crypto, digital signing and authentication, and not just passphrase, but X509 digital certificates. And we also said that ZIP is really not the only security format, but PGP is as well. So we have actually incorporated in our products as the support for Open PGP and PGP keys. We've got 30,000 customers, 90 of the Fortune 100. When Centers for Medicare and Medicaid are transporting PII, they're using Secure Zip to protect that. Every check that clears in the UK through the 11 member banks in the UK uses Secure Zip to be able to protect that information. And then every airline fare that's changed, millions a day actually, use Secure Zip to protect that data. So that was the enterprise side of this. And then really the third phase, and that's the phase that we're in right now, is really growth and innovation. And that's what we're here to talk about today.
So now we're going to pass over to Tim. Tim's going to talk about our new CEO, Miller Newton, and some of the thinking that's behind the project we're working on right now.
First, Matt didn't introduce himself. He is the lead of our new products division. Matt is the visionary in our company and the hardest worker I know and an ultimate gamer. So if you see him online late at night, the few hours he has to spare, he's gaming. That's totally true.
Not anymore.
So in 2009, I've been with the company 11 years, started when I was 3, so. And I have to do a plug too. Brian from Golf Pipeline, you sold me on that group. I'm a 5-year member now, just signed up this week.
Thank you.
2009, one of our shareholders, our CEO decided to retire, and one of our shareholders knew Miller Newton really well. His name is John Beagle. He's the principal at Grace Matthews, a small investment banking outfit here in Milwaukee. So John brings Miller into the picture. They go out and they get funding. They get 2 prominent private equity firms, one in Canada, one in Chicago, to really invest in PKWARE on kind of our next leg of innovation growth. And Miller's a sales and marketing guy, and he was the first CEO of Monster.com from 0 to 50 million. Then he went out east and did a bunch of software startups, one of them LavaStorm. That's where he met John. And one of the board of directors of LavaStorm, a guy named Clay Christensen, who you may or may not know. Clay is a Harvard business guy, professor. He's dedicated his career to understanding and how to be innovative, how to innovate companies, really answering the question of how to sustain growth in existing companies. And that's PKWARE. I mean, we fight that battle every day. And so when Miller came to PKWARE, also a little tidbit in that John grew up like next door to Clay, and like knew him from Sunday school, and also when John was getting his master's at Harvard and everything, so just a little funny circle there. But when Miller came to PKWARE, he had us like all read the books. We all read Innovator's Dilemma, Innovator's Solution, and it took us a while to really implement some of those ideas, and we'll talk a little bit about how we did that. But Clay's ideas of innovation are timeless. And when we read the books, it was, we had to implement some of them, and it just took us a while, and we'll walk through that. Now, Matt will tell you how we failed to first implement them.
Thanks. So, kind of like Tim said, PKWARE wanted to be innovative. We wanted to start thinking like a startup. We wanted to kind of drive the hammer home. We've been doing software development for 27 years. It's really hard to kind of go agile and just go nuts and ship stuff without the company crushing it from their sort of incumbent mentality. And there's what we've been doing is sustaining innovation. Our most attractive customers, the biggest banks, the biggest companies in healthcare. It's really easy to develop software for them, and at the same time we're just kicking on everybody that's small, these little $1,000, $5,000 sales that want these features that we just don't care about. I mean, so all our development's going after our most attractive customers.
And so Clay says the existing business is great at filtering out every idea to strategically think about how to prolong and serve the best customers, as Matt said, and sustain that existing business. And we had processes set up to do that. We're great at doing that. And the offshoot of that is you kick every innovation idea away because it doesn't prolong the existing business. And so Clay's idea was, in order to be innovative, having disruptive technologies, you need to create an autonomous business unit. So that's what we did at PKWARE, and that's why we're here today, is we created a startup within PKWARE. And we said, okay, that startup is not beholden to any resources, processes, anything within the existing business. And all it does is it reports to the CEO, and its main goal is to kick out innovative products. And so it didn't have to worry about the existing customer calling or anything like that. And so that started with John. Miller brought in John to kind of run that group. Matt's the visionary, and he runs all the engineers, although I'll plug later that we're looking for a soft dev manager. And the thing that's different about having a startup with an existing business is that the startup could use whatever resources it wanted to in that existing business. It used HR for recruiting, it used QA, it used tech support, it used all these things. It even used a little bit of code from the core business and libraries and that sort of thing. So it could suck anything it wants to out of that existing business. Plus, as entrepreneurs in the audience know here, the cool thing was that startup didn't need to go out and do a roadshow and raise funding from VCs or angels or seed and that type of thing. The existing company, we set up the existing company to be able to fund this innovative group regardless of its success or failure. Now don't get me wrong, there's still pressures on the innovative group to perform and meet deadlines and all the things that startups have too, but its existence isn't dependent on its success or failure. We expect to fail, and we're going to continue to fund that innovative group, and hopefully the 10 things we do, 2 of them will be the next PKZIP and be a rock star.
So one of the big first challenges that we had, and that all of you guys have in your startups, is getting focused on a target customer. And based on just the little bit that Tim said about disruptive innovation and what you know just from having been out there, it is really hard to focus in on the people who have money. It is really compelling to either chase your pet technology or your pet space. But as one really prominent venture capitalist in Boston once said, every time is that we only invest in business models, we don't invest in technology. Every time we've invested in an innovative technology with an unclear business model, we've been burned. Every time we've invested in an interesting business model, regardless of whether or not the technology was interesting or good or even like good design, we made a ton of money. And for PKWARE, you can tell we're in the middle of, welcome into the world that we live in, where it is still really hard for us to develop products and get them out quickly to test them with customers when our customers are some of the pickiest and most demanding in the industry. And so simultaneously right now we're building products. We'd love all of your feedback on it. A free product that is intended to be easy enough for you to use, but also compelling enough for the biggest banks in the world to use. And it's client-side encryption for the cloud. So with all of this background in compression and security, became really clear that 100 or now 200 million people using Dropbox were probably putting stuff up there that they might not care about, but we're guessing their employers or their clients or their congregation or whatever it is does care a lot about. Dropbox has made it so easy to share that in fact they're not very motivated to add encryption because it makes all sorts of things more complicated for them and for people using it. And so it seems really logical to go after the people who opened the free accounts, you guys. Make it really easy for you. But one of the things that we've learned is that in general, we pay one lump sum fee for technology a month, and that goes to Verizon or AT&T, and everything else should be free. And we really have gotten spoiled. Unbelievable productivity apps, unbelievable entertainment, a lot of things available for free that we don't pay for, but our enterprise customers, our 30,000 enterprise customers do. And so we are at a point where we can preach whatever, we've certainly read the books. We can preach what we want to, but we're at a point where we are simultaneously with this product serving you and our biggest enterprise customers. So what we want you to do is go download Viivo for free and link it to your Dropbox account, which will be very easy to do because the teams made it as brilliantly easy and seamless with your Dropbox experience as possible. And tell us as you use it and as you invite friends to share folders and share content, which we know a lot of you do. Let us know what you think about the experience and also what you value it at. Because we go through this process, and as you guys and every one of these startups have to figure out is what is it worth and who's willing to pay. And so for us, this is like a big focus group. And for us, that's one of the current challenges. And we've had a few. A couple of which Matt will talk about as well, that we think that all startups really face.
So first challenge John talked about, people don't pay for software anymore. That was kind of a shocker to us, but it's true. The second challenge we faced is we sat down and put together a development team to build this thing, and we wanted to use all the capital we had to go out and find the best developers everywhere. We hired guys in Austin, Texas. We acquired a one-man show in Boise, Idaho. We've got an MIT guy in Boston. We've got another developer in Boston. We've got people in Milwaukee. We've put together this amazing team of people. We're it's the year 2012. Skype's there, Google Hangouts there, GoToMeetings there, all these awesome technologies are there. We don't need to lock people in a room anymore to do awesome things. We can do it remotely. Super hard. As you guys know, it's brutal. You miss out on all the water cooler stuff. You miss the whiteboarding sessions. You miss the impromptu QA guy wandering into the dev manager's office to ask a question that prompts a design change. I mean, that's been our biggest learning experience, so far, aside from the fact that people don't want to pay for software anymore.
The rationale.
So have you solved that?
Yeah, we're hiring people in Milwaukee. No, we got a great team. We'd like to keep the team. We've got a bunch of positions open, all development stuff. We're looking for Mac developers, web app developers, UI UX designers, .NET engineers, everybody. So,
And they
Are you finding those guys? Are you finding your talent pool in Milwaukee, or are you hiring outside of Milwaukee?
So right now we're trying to keep it to Milwaukee. We really want to hire people here. It's super important to have that chemistry. That's the one thing that we learned. I mean, the last 9 months that the four of us have been on this team, it's been the hardest thing. As great as the technology is, as great as all the video conferences are, it just doesn't beat a couple of guys in front of a whiteboard. It just really doesn't. So yeah, we'd love to find it in Milwaukee. We're going to keep looking for a long time before we venture out. We're willing to relocate people. We're willing to do whatever it takes to get them here.
We're paying $1,000 to anybody who refers anybody, and they get hired from PKWARE for any of the openings. So $1,000. So the Mac developer, web app developer, software development engineer. We report to Matt and kind of run all the engineers. That's a key opening. QA manager, UI, UX, and we have a new fiscal year in April 1st, and we'll have new positions posted then, so check back. And this isn't a one-time promotion. $1,000, anybody who refers people. And Matt and I for sure been on the roadshow for like the last month, meeting every technical person we get our hands on. And the story is resonating. People love what we're doing, and we want to get as many technical folks in Milwaukee on the team as possible.
And these definitely are paid positions. and coming from, we really did believe. It's funny that somehow if we were in San Francisco, that this would be easier. And I've talked to enough people in both places to realize that there is a deep talent pool here, actually. And you've got.
Let me do this one. I'm just going to steal the mic from you. Anybody this week in startups? Jason Calacanis, hands up. Really? You gotta be kidding me! Cordio, that's it?
What was the question?
Who listens to This Week in Startups? Podcast, Jason Calacanis, San Francisco. You guys, no, it's unbelievable. You all have iPhones, go download it, it's amazing. SourceBits advertises on there all the time. Design-led engineering, San Francisco, we're like, we need these guys to do our UI UX stuff. They sound amazing. We called them up, we had an awesome call with them, it went great. They're gonna help us out with some UI stuff. And we start talking about when we're gonna get together. We're going to the launch conference in San Francisco next week. We're like, we're gonna meet on the back of launch. And then they start talking about flying their developers in. We're like, well, where are you flying them from? They're like, well, Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. I'm like, you guys suck. We decided an NDA that says we can't go after anybody that works for them.
but they're getting world class. But they're getting world class talent here, and as we've gotten out there and beaten the bushes, there's world class talent here. And so not only is it the right thing to do, this is actually a great place to do it. And it's why we were excited to host tonight.
So we definitely want people in Milwaukee. I got 4 gift certificates for great questions. Make them as hard as you guys can. Let's hear them. We'd love to answer them. What we sucked at, what we did right, whatever you want to hear.
Are you going to South by Southwest, and why?
No, because I think it's a music convention, but I know it's not, right?
There's an interactive portion.
Maybe the web.
I have a question for you guys. So PKWARE's got an innovation group, and you've got sort of this enterprise entity.
Yeah.
Is that correct, right?
Yep.
That's correct. So what makes the innovation group tick on a day-to-day, week-to-week level? You guys are clearly, have a great relationship with one another. Like, he stole the mic from you, right? You were cool with that. Can you talk a little bit about, the day-to-day startup innovation kind of mentality that you've got?
That's an awesome question. I'm just going to give you this gift certificate right now. It's a great question.
Repeat the question.
Yeah. So the question was, what do we do day to day to stay innovative? I've been talking a lot. Let's take it.
To secure your own documents. And so it really quickly puts us at an intersection of a very specific type of enterprise customer. But we're waking up every day saying, how long are they willing to, what goes on our whiteboard every day and what we push each other on is, what are the real requirements, right? What are they going to be in a year? How long is it going to be before they stop before somebody actually gives an alternative that is as comfortable for you to use with your friends as it is for the enterprise to hand out? And these are just every day, this puts what we're developing in flux. It drives some people crazy. So when you ask what the chemistry is, we lose a lot of people on our team who can't deal with ambiguity, who really need certainty, who start short-circuiting when you change the spec again, and next week and the week after that, and we will, and it makes Matt really nervous. He's like, whoa, we have this huge problem of not being able to get products out. We've got this huge history we need to drive to the finish. Yeah, you got to drive to the finish with the product that a customer is willing to pay for. And so we really are finding this good tension, but it's tense.
Yeah, love it.
So just to add to that, part of it, as John mentioned, it's change. We really, whenever we recruit someone to PKWARE, we grill them on the ability to work in a changeable environment. Are they willing to deal with ambiguity? Are they willing to deal with and want to change the environment all day, question authority, question how processes run? We grill them on that because those are the type of people we want.
So dealing with this idea of ambiguity, I think moving on this idea of ambiguity, I think the question for a lot of startups right now is, how do you monetize? And it sounds like this is a question that you are still approaching. Can you talk about the process of raising funding while you're still kind of grappling with the idea of monetization? Because someone up here was talking about the fact that as far as investment's concerned, they're going to shy away from these great innovative ideas if the clear business model is not there. So if you can talk about that a little bit. Thank you.
So
Totally gets a gift card.
Keep it.
No, it's all
the
you.
only thing we've done, the only thing that we've done that I'm in that conversation with investors that I'm really proud of is focus it on only a couple of metrics that really matter. So measuring success by a couple of metrics that matter. We're going to be pre-revenue on Viivo for a while, right? What can you really, and I can forecast all sorts of stuff and it can be logical, but any smart investor knows they're making a gamble. Basing it, one, on our past success, which is really easy for us to take credit for because we are actually PKWARE. It's not like a company I had 3 years ago. But you'll do your best to tie it to your past success and then keep the metrics so simple and so immediate that they're actually measurable. And for us right now, with our investors, downloads and referenceable customers. Until there's actually any revenue to actually justify the payback. Although we believe that on this we have a decent payback period. Right now they're focused entirely on things we can measure and things we can control. I can control downloads and I can control referenceable customers. And that's where we've started with the investors.
John, just add to that.
One thing to add is that when Clay has all his principles and everything, a consulting company was born out of that to basically implement his principles and help companies be innovative. And John and his brother actually worked at the company for many years. John's brother actually ran the company for the last 10 years. And we had the benefit of our investors allowed us to invest with Innovsight, and they came in and we did tons of market research on this problem and validated. We talked to a bunch of people, Lady Gaga's, tour manager, just tons of people that have a problem with using Dropbox and wanting it to be secure. So we did have that benefit to get market research to validate the idea up front.
So I heard a lot about app downloading and integrating with Dropbox, and it strikes me though is, if I think about my habits on a daily basis, that the majority of what I do has little to do with Dropbox and more to do with just using my phone. And you guys said something about AT&T and Sprint and the others that are running the world. How do you take your product and move it up the food chain so that it's embedded inside the cell delivery system so it's automatic, right? Just like PK was at a computer level, automatic when I send it out, because I'm doing so much more document messaging through email than I am through Dropbox. As a matter of fact, I try to avoid Dropbox if I can, just because of that middleware layer. And I understand the cloud idea, but it seems like all of us in this room have devices that we're using a hell of a lot more than that. Just a question.
So 2 problems, and this question drove me absolutely insane as I joined the team, is that this belongs at the OS level or at the carrier level. It does not belong where we are doing it. But the competition and the fragmentation is so extreme that they cannot get their stuff together. And it's absolutely where you and I want it, is at a much more fundamental level. And finally, people, this kept patting me on the head saying like, Eyring, this is where it's gonna happen for the next 10 years until there is, and I mean drum roll, until there is a new standard. Right, there needs to be a new standard. And this is PKWARE's, if it hasn't become obvious in this conversation, this is PKWARE's attempt to do zip, redo zip right, i.e. so that all the money accrues to us in the standard. Because it has to be a standard that ends up being embedded so deeply that it really is completely transparent and in the background. and not a middleware layer. It's where it's got to go. But the standard for the reason it's free for consumers right now is that it has to get in enough people's hands. There has to be enough demand and enough acceptance for us to even have a dream of where it needs to actually belong.
And I'm the paranoid one in the group, but I'd just say that I think that in a lot of cases that security, client-side encryption, and consumerization of IT are diametrically opposed. Because guess what? If that data is encrypted, you can't gain any information out of it for advertising. And that's the name of the game for this. And that's why enterprises want this, because they can't actually mine that information for advertising.
There are a lot of people who don't want encryption to work at all. And those are the dollars and minds that are really the commerce engine of new media.
Next question, a couple guys. You got one? Go ahead.
Right, so one of the side effects of innovation, of course, is failure. How do you guys incorporate failure into your process, I guess account for it, and actually try to feed it back in and learn from the things that you failed?
Well, we fire a lot of people. No.
I assume the silence just means you've never failed.
No, we've done a lot of things wrong. You know, the thing with Viivo, we don't know if it's it. We just don't. We've got a limited time that we're going to pursue this idea, and we're going to go nuts on it. And we think it's going to be hot. We don't know if we're too early. We don't know if we're too late. We don't know if it's someone else is going to solve it with a checkbox. But as soon as we know, we're going to pull a plug and do something else. That's what the innovative group of PKWARE is meant to do. We think we've got something here. I mean, there's people confiscating laptops at the border, Fourth Amendment right violations. I mean, people are starting to get worried. I mean, my parents don't know anything about data security, and they're asking me if they should be using Dropbox. I mean, it's just kind of weird, So yeah.
Yeah, okay, so this is kind of weird, but John and I have a pinky swear. We actually touched pinkies when we did it, but there's a date where it's in our calendars.
It's part of not being virtual. You can't pinky swear on Skype.
It's really hard, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if it's not working by that day, we pull the plug and we do something else. And like Tim said, I mean, the company set up to fund the innovative group, and we are working as hard as we can every single day to figure out if this is it. And the day we know it's not, we're going to do something else.
But it's worse than that. If you wait till the day it's not working, it doesn't work. Last pinky swear we put on the calendar 3 months in advance, and we said following 5 things do not happen, or if we've collected data on the following 5 things that satisfy or doesn't satisfy us, they were all different, we will do X. And if you literally don't do that 3 months in advance, you'll second guess and double back. And we kept our.
We did.
And it included major resource changes, major strategy changes.
But if Viivo doesn't work, how will you take what you learned from it not working into your next product?
You have to repeat it.
Go ahead. If Viivo doesn't work, how will we feed it back into our process? We have been super, you can tell that we've been super candid with each other about what's worked. There have been a few things. This product was built by a group of engineers that are no longer even associated with us. That was a massive, it was literally like a heart transplant midstream. That was as painful and as brutal as real-time, as real-time data, I think, as we'll ever get. And we were willing to do that. I'm not really nervous about our ability to be honest with each other and do hard things in, midstream after that experience. And so hopefully that'll continue.
Next question. So are you really only working on this one project right now? There's nothing else going on
For the Viivo team, yeah.
No, we've most of the core engineering group is still working on PKZip, SecureZip products. We just launched a brand new product, SecureZip for e-business server. We're going e-business edition, marketing product names, can't say. Yeah, we've got a new product called vZIP that's encryption for dormant VMs in the virtual infrastructure. So that's out there. So yeah, the company's still going gung ho. On the platforms it makes sense. Virtualization's a new thing for us. Virtual infrastructure is like the DOS days. Everybody gets to rebuild the same utilities all over again. And so we're kind of doing the same thing. With the run of the cloud, everybody's outsourcing their data center, AWS, EC2, S3, everybody's like kind of throwing all their servers there. We get to actually take the products that we've used in the past and apply those to those platforms as well in the future. So yeah, I mean, this is just kind of.
But the innovation side is
Just Viivo. The innovation is just
Yeah, absolutely.
Have some pressure from your stakeholders, whoever they are. That's right. You guys you've got to have pressure from your stakeholders. How do you have fun? Because you deal with ambiguity, you deal with pressure from your stakeholders. How do you have fun?
So we actually are one of the only people at Moe's Irish Pub where they net 30 invoice us. So that's how we get to do sweet events like this with great.
There's a little plaque downstairs on one of the bars that says PKWARE. We're here all the time.
That's cool.
We needed more than 2 drink tickets to do that, but yeah, it's not we do stuff outside of work with that. Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot of discussion, especially with these three right here, on not just what we're working on Viivo, but what's the next thing? What's the next thing after that? There's a lot of visionary discussion. That's awesome. I mean, we involved a team in that. That's not just these three. I mean, we involved a team in that. There's a lot of discussion about what are the fun stuff we're going to do after Viivo, how are we going to extend it, and that keeps it exciting.
That's not fun. No, I mean, every Sunday morning during Formula One season, I know I got a Skype message waiting for me for this guy. Hey, you got the live timing up? Formula One's out, let's go. And we'll watch the race over Skype chat, watching telemetry. I mean, it's a great group.
Cool. Sounds like you guys have all been part of startups beforehand, and now you're in a position where you kind of have an unlimited amount of funding, and you're separate from a corporate bureaucracy working with the company. What advice do you guys have for startups who don't have that luxury? And if you're looking back at the startups that you were a part of, maybe what you would have done differently, or some things that we could look forward to start doing?
Right. So basically, what you said is greatest job in the world, and I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, Matt already called me out on a failure, so I'll take this one. And anyone else that wants to contribute. But I think more than anything, and I think actually one of the reasons why I just really love working for PKWARE is that there's been so many times where I've just been in love with the technology this is going to be the idea, this is what I want to do. And there was no business plan associated with it. There's no path to revenue. And that's just gonna fail. I mean, it's always gonna fail. And I've failed with that, 1.5 times. But when you get, I've just got so much clarity in this process, and I don't want you to think that there's no pressure. There's not unlimited funds. I mean, we're always pushing ourselves to do what we can the most efficient way. I mean, and that's like thinking like a startup, right? I mean, I started 3 companies, and there's been times where you're not taking salary, you're expensing trips, you don't know if you're ever going to get reimbursed for any of that stuff, and there's less of that pressure, right? But the stuff around making this thing succeed, it's even more pressure in that regard. But for startups themselves, I just focus on how you want to get to revenue. Focus on the business plan. Don't get enamored with the technology. Focus on how you actually want to make money.
And even for the not-for-profits, because there are a bunch of people working here, there is a customer. There's absolutely a customer from whom the money comes from. That is the paying customer, are the donors, are the sponsors, and are the partners. And the business, it needs a business model. Not-for-profits need a business model even more clear and compelling, and there's absolutely a target customer. And having that business model be really clear the entire time is the only way that there really even is potential.
All right, we got Cordio said we got one more question. I got one more business card, or gift card. Sorry.
So, you guys,
2 more questions.
you're working with Dropbox, because they don't have secure transfers or whatever.
Right.
But does not Box.com have secure transfers? And I'm wondering if that's the case, much like PKZip has gone underneath to be kind of a hidden brand, shouldn't the Viivo technology become a hidden brand under Google Drive?
You got it.
Other stuff, this, that, and everything.
100%. So, but for us, it's about, there's a lot of, if you kind of think about PKZip, it's cloud agnostic. It works everywhere. The problem is you need 8 clicks to, do secure encryption. So, the mission of Viivo is seamless client-side encryption, no extra clicks, just work in your Dropbox workflow and encrypts your data. I mean, people don't have any patience for any products that are less than a 9 these days, and they'd like them to be a 10. So, that's kind of what we're going for. As far as other cloud providers go, absolutely. Box is like next on our roadmap. But for us, it can't be just something as agnostic as SecureZip, right? That'll, SecureZip file drop it anywhere. It's got to be a really tight integration that works in that platform's, expected workflow from a user point of view. So yeah, you got it.
There.
So we're going after Box next, and beyond that, Google Drive and whoever's behind them.
Need some APIs for Google Drive.
So I have a final question.
Okay.
Oh, you got one?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to steal my friend Rick's question because I asked him what it was and I wanted to hear it. So, all 4 of you, you're technically you're the senior team or you're a part of the entrepreneurship team. Is that correct? Yep. So when it comes to innovation, I know that this question comes a lot of the time is, do you give your team equity when it comes to whether or not your product is successful? So with PKWARE, does your success have anything to do with the amount of equity you receive? Is it structured that way? And I don't know if I'm trading on private information, if I'm not, if I am or not. I mean, maybe it's different with you being a part of that senior team. Maybe it's just part of your position.
So relatively speaking, because you're asking actually, this is a question for any organization. On the spectrum, I suspect in this room and for organizations you work for, PKWARE would be on the far end of fixed compensation and non-equity based. Mostly because the number of times it's changed hands. For the people who hold equity, many of them actually invested in the company. It was almost a management, almost felt more like a management buyout at some points. And so it's just it's interesting when you map it to our culture and our history and our current revenue model, it ends up being a highly fixed compensation environment. What's interesting about it is that it doesn't, we found that in terms of who you attract, because that's what really ends up mattering, is what kind of people you're attracting and how are they like scrivening away at night. And what's interesting is that we have found that people who are working for a decent salary work just as hard and sometimes harder and are just as happy and sometimes happier than people who have on their minds the idea of a giant payday in the future. And so fortunately, we don't feel like it's affected either our how attractive we are or our output or attrition. And so it's kind of worked for us culturally and psychologically in our organization. Follow-up? Question that?
Follow-up to that or a different question? All right, so I don't want to step in luck. With all due respect, you guys are one of the great Wisconsin, if not global, success stories in the IT software world, and that's awesome. But as a cautionary tale for all of us startups who might make it big fast, is there any kind of story around PK, or is that something we can't talk about?
It's absolutely, it's not only not something we can talk about, it's been written about so extensively, you should Google it if you're interested. We're shocked that it continues to be, we're shocked at how interesting it continues to be to some journalists. And so if you have a free minute tonight, you should definitely Google it. But there's certainly nothing, there's no internal lore that's as colorful as what's been printed and circulated. As you can imagine, that's been embellished. So enjoy that if that's interesting.
I do have a technical question. So being able to do encrypted search in embedded documents, when can we expect that in the marketplace?
We'll talk afterwards.
Yeah, no, I know.
Box was asking us that question just this.
The interesting thing about that, because we've gotten this question several times, is that the index now becomes the mother lode of all. I mean, that's all the keywords, everything that's secure, and every document that you're searching now is in one convenient place now.
So it's coming.
Yeah.
For better or for worse. It doesn't excite you.
I want to thank Startup Milwaukee. A big reason we're here.
Thank you, PKWARE. Thank you, Joe, Matt, John, Tim. Thank you so much. So, we're all going to hang out around here for 15 minutes. You can come bombard the front of the room if you have questions for any of these fine gentlemen. And then I think we're going to head downstairs around 8 o'clock to continue enjoying some of Milwaukee's favorite beverages, beer. So thank you everybody for coming out. One more hand for PKWARE.